Yes, sir.
Hey, man. How you been?
I'm good. We're about to start our big ESPN preseason college football seminar, which I started working at ESPN to not have to sit in meetings. So I'm going to do that for the next 3 days, and then we start getting on airplanes and going to football stadiums.
What happens in these seminars? Is it kind of like a breakdown of team? Like, help me understand what happens here.
Well, it's actually pretty cool because it's the only time all year that we're all in the same room. Like, I think everybody thinks that, it's like a Sports Center commercial. We're all in the newsroom together and all that stuff. But the reality is, this is the only time College Game Day and SEC Nation and Marty and McGee and radio and the live broadcast teams, it's the only time we'll all be in the same place at the same time. So it's cool. I mean, and honestly, the social aspect of it is the best because, once the gun goes off, we all literally go in 1,000 different directions. And there's even, folks that we don't ever get to see regionally, the West Coast people and the Pacific Northwest people, and we're all in the same room. And what it is basically just talking about, they'll bring in Steve Shaw to talk about rules changes, and they'll bring in, they'll get all of our former quarterbacks who are analysts to talk about what they, and they'll get all of our defensive linemen who are analysts talk about what they think they'll see defensively. So that's really what it is. And just, they roll out all the graphics. We get to see before the season starts of what all the graphics look like and what all the promotional material looks like. And so it gets you juiced up and it gets you ready to go. But it is literally the only time we all see each other and we shake hands and we say good luck. And then we see each other again at the national championship game.
Ryan, follow me here. I look at this coaches poll that came out yesterday, and I think to myself, like, this is college football today where, we've always had these, everybody's guessing, right? There's no doubt about it. But in this year's guessing, there's so much parity. And yeah, Texas is one. I get it. Yeah, but Georgia's here. Like, we don't know anything, do we?
No. And anyone who tells you they know, we might have a general idea. But the reality is we don't know. I mean, if you had come to me a year ago and said, I'm going to go to Atlanta and I'll be covering a national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame, I would have, asked you what medications you were on. And you probably said there's no way. Ohio State has a chance. No way Notre Dame's playing for national championship. That's way ahead of schedule. And there they were. And so, yeah, and if you had told me the teams that we would have in that expanded playoff, that, we're going to have SMU. SMU is going to make a run at an ACC championship. No way that's going to happen, right? I mean, and it was awesome. And so, yeah, that's the best part of it is I love the unpredictability of it. And I say this all the time. I root for chaos. People always think we're rooting for teams, right? Oh, you went to school here, your dad went to school there, or, whatever else. So I know you. I don't care who wins the games. I want chaos. That's why the 2007 college football season, if I could, I would just sit and rewatch the entire thing. And what I've loved about really since COVID is, you're right, we don't know. And probably half of those teams that are in that coaches poll, we won't even be talking about anymore once we get to October. And they'll be replaced by a bunch of teams that we didn't think we needed to spend much time researching. And that's why, all due respect to the NFL or whoever, that's why this is still the greatest sport in the world.
Ryan, where are you on Texas A&M this year?
I think that Texas A&M, if the college football tooth fairy comes to College Station, as you can have the same year you had a year ago, plus a win. Like, give me another win in there somewhere. If the college football tooth fairy comes and offers you a 9-win season with a solid, what we used to call a New Year's Day bowl game, you say thank you very much, because I think they're on schedule to set themselves up for success for the next decade. And so and y'all know I'm a Tennessee alum. I've told my Tennessee people that too. If somebody comes to you and says, here's a solid 9-10 win season and a nice bowl game, you say thank you very much, because I think that A&M is on the way up. Marty and I, you guys know, we did our talking season special that'll airs next week on SEC Network, a week from today. And we sat down with Elko, and, I've known him long enough to know when he knows that he's got it pushed in the right direction. And so that's where I am with them. I think that, like so much of the SEC, honestly, I think like the whole conference, they could win the whole thing, or they could settle into an 8-9 win season and finish the year. And again, it's chaos, and I'm here for it.
Well, then I'll follow that up with Marcel Reed. He's obviously a big storyline with the Aggies. I thought he played really well last season. Do you like what you see from Marcel? Do you see some areas that could maybe push the Aggie offense a little bit higher?
Well, I like him, but Moss, to me, is the ticket. I think that, and rightfully so, everyone talking about Reed is the way it should go. But I just, it's funny because I've had this conversation with Elko before too, especially when I live in North Carolina, especially when he was just up the road to Duke, about, the passing game, and rightfully so, and the quarterback, and rightfully so, gets the attention. But for me, if number 8 is rolling with it, I think that's the ticket for them this year.
Ryan, what about a team like Florida? Could potentially this schedule that they have again be a blessing for Billy Napier, or does he have to win at a pretty high level regardless of the schedule because of DJ Lagway, because they've been patient with him?
Well, no one in Gainesville cares what the schedule looks like. They don't, And here's what I love about Billy Napier. And I wrote this column going into the season last year, which was people in Gainesville get very frustrated with Billy because Billy, his pulse rate never changes. And he's kind of boring. And he knows that. He cuts his own hair, guys. That's who he is, right? He stands over the sink and he cuts his own hair because he says, why would I waste time and money going down to Great Clips and getting my hair cut when I could just do it myself? And it shows that's a terrible haircut, but he doesn't care. And this is a program that was raised on Spurrier and was raised on Muschamp and was raised on these guys that even, obviously Urban Meyer, even if they weren't winning, they weren't boring. And when on A&M, we went to Gainesville last year for Marty McGee, week 1 and 3. So we were in town for that A&M game, and we had to go to this dinner, like at the athletic director's house on Friday night. And this happens a lot when we go into town. We've done it in College Station too. And we're just, all the muckety-mucks are there with their Gator stuff on. And they're all pulling me and Marty and Paul and everyone aside going, we're going to fire Billy on Sunday. If they lose the game, we're going to fire Billy on Sunday. And they were gleefully saying this because they thought they were going to get Lane Kiffin, and, we're going to move on without him, and we need somebody more exciting. And we all know A&M won that football game, but then Florida basically didn't lose the rest of the year. And I loved watching those same people be so uncomfortable. And I know Billy enjoyed it. And so that's a long way of saying they don't care what the schedule is. They think they should be playing for a national championship every year. But I wrote it, I think it was 2 years ago. If they just let Billy do what Billy needs to do, then they will be building something for the long term. And because of his buyout clause, I think it's forced them to have to sit with him. And I think they're going to long term, they're going to love it. But that schedule's awful. Like this, it is so bad. It's so if you're a Florida fan, but if he takes care of business with that schedule, then it's going to be really, really difficult, even with a couple losses, for the playoff committee to keep them out of that expanded playoff field when we get to December.
Ryan, last thing for you, LSU, a team that, they're in the top 10. They have the best transfer portal class. Brian Kelly says it's the deepest team he's had, one of the best teams he's had. Do they live up to the expectations this year?
Better win week 1. They've lost 5 in a row, and the assignment is tough because they got to play the Death Valley Bowl and go to Clemson. And I think Clemson is the class of the ACC this year. And I think this Clemson team feels an awful lot like, the Clemson back in the day when Dabo had them in the championship game every year. I love Nussmeier, and anyone who sits and talks with him would love him. And so if he is giving some defense, he's going to put points on the board. And so I think they have a chance. But that being said, if they go to Clemson and they lose, then they will the talk will have already started, no matter what the expanded playoff. Because you guys know you can lose a game, maybe lose 2 games, and still be in the playoff. But if they lose that first game and they lose it ugly, and that'll be 6 in a row opening weekend, then it's going to get very ugly down there on the Bayou. But I like Nussmeier a lot. But again, schedule's awful. At Ole Miss, at Alabama, they got A&M at home, but they finished the year at Oklahoma. it could be the only thing they do better than drink in Baton Rouge is drama. And so if they get any drama, and those two things are probably related. but if they lose that first game, we're going to ratchet up the drama for the rest of the year.
Ryan, great stuff, man. Thanks for making time for us. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Appreciate it. We'll see you somewhere on the road this year.